Welcome back to the Third Rail. This is John Teeter coming to you with the Insane One, my buddy, my pal. We're going to be talking today about the fall of Syria. Take it away. Introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. Insane One here. Just a regular guy here to talk about Syria with my friend John. So let's get it going.
One sec. My camera is wigging out. Let's see. There we go. All right. Here we are. All right. So Syria is falling. Assad was, he's fled the country, and they've pretty much lost control of the government. Rebels have taken over, and the situation is getting really interesting. Syria, as you know, was an ally of Russia. Probably not anymore. It looks like this started out with the HTS, as they're known, attacking the northwest. They are a group that is funded by primarily Turkey, which basically means the West, and Turkey funded them because they were always worried about Syria sending offense towards their border. And so that's kind of what started it. The rebels on November the 30th, they captured Aleppo, which is Syria's second largest city. And then they continued their advance going towards Homs. And on December the 8th, they entered Damascus, which is the capital. And Assad fled to Russia, who was his primary ally, you could say. And now it looks like the country of Syria is taken over by a more Western-friendly regime, at least for the time being. Israel has taken the Golan Heights fully. They've encroached. That was kind of like a neutral zone, kind of like the DMZ in Korea. And they've got boots on the ground. They've been bombing, allegedly, chemical weapons facilities. But who knows if that's really true. I think it's just an excuse to drop bombs, honestly. What do you think, Insane One?
Well, I think that we've had this war over there for what, thousands of years, but we do have key players throughout the world backing at different times these people. I was just going to look again for reference on the map. I know Syria borders Turkey right there, and Turkey, they've been, a strong part of maintaining order along that border. I had a friend of mine that was in the Turkish military, and they did a lot of operations right there along the border and whatnot. So I know that they've been a player in it, and then Russia has also been involved. So the way that all these people are intertwined, I see a lot of things going on there. I do recall a big fight that was going on between ISIS and al-Assad regime at the time. And I know that they've been ruthlessly grabbing up people, putting them into prisons, executing people, their enemies and their friends. I guess they were having like a mob style mentality. So anybody that was for the regime, they ended up getting, the things that they needed and wanted in life. But if you were against the regime, you were an enemy of the state, basically, is what I'm seeing. People in prison for 30 years, and they're letting them out. But, you hear of people in prison for 30 years whose side is the good side? There's all kinds of different people and powers at play over the course of years that do these things. I mean, obviously, when I see these videos, you see children coming out of cells. That's nowhere humane. We need to have that humane level that's just not there. You don't see the humanity and the kindness get spread through that. So right now I've got a lot of opinions. I know a lot of the history of what's been happening over there. And, it kind of scares me because the people, we went ahead and backed them at one point in time, 30 years ago. We made sure they had the weapons to fight. We made sure ISIS had the weapons to fight, Syria 30 years ago. And then we go and switch sides after ISIS becomes a problem. And then we're like, yeah, okay, we'll help you guys out. And then they go and attack Israel and through the Palestinian government. And, so we've got this conflict in the Middle East. And again, it's backed by Russia, it's backed by Turkey. And we've got Russia doing another thing, 3,000 miles away, starting war in another area of the country and over different things. So you just got a lot of major players and a lot of different things that can happen. And the current government, the current government that helped do this coup, this overthrow of the government, this current government was like, yeah, we'll take it. I've got the parliament now. And people are scared of the fact that they see this devout Islamic flag in the background. They're like, well, now we're going to have the same thing that, people have been complaining about with a lot of these Muslim countries, is that before the people just walked around and they enjoyed life. And now there's all these rules to where you can't do this, you can't do that. And if you're a woman, you can't do this or that. So there's a lot of different rules that are being implemented today that they didn't have in the 60s and 70s and things like that. So I don't know. There's a lot going on right now to digest.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to bring up a website real quick. That's the wrong browser. One sec. So this is the live tracker of the map. This is from Al Jazeera. I figure I'll pull them up because they're, closest to the situation. And this is what's being controlled by whom. So the yellow area is the Kurdish controlled land. The aqua color is Turkish controlled, The dark blue is Israeli controlled, and oh wow, okay, so there's still some Assad loyalists, these two little red tiny dots, and the green is what HTS has taken over. HTS stands for Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. I'm sure I butchered that, but that's the force that was funded, by Turkey. And, wouldn't shock me if we and Israel also funded it, because Syria is one of those nations that the military-industrial complex really wanted to fall. So it would not shock me if we had something to do with it, either directly or indirectly, most likely covertly, making it look like it was just Turkey. But, they didn't waste any time. Like, if you look, the Golan Heights, that's supposed to be a region that's like a buffer zone, kind of like a demilitarized zone, kind of what's going on in North Korea, South Korea, right on their border. And as soon as it started going down, Israel sent boots on the ground and started dropping bombs. Like I said earlier, they claim it's chemical weapons, but I'm old enough to remember the one time that the mainstream media said that Trump seemed presidential was when he bombed Syria, allegedly because Assad was gassing his citizens. And I don't know if that ever really happened or not, but it definitely
seems they've got the chemical warfare buildings and whatnot. Hey, just to make sure you're on YouTube Live and all that. I don't see anything active for the YouTube section. Just to make sure about that. If you pull up the YouTube, I just didn't see it. It says it's waiting for the third rail still.
Let me see. Hang on a sec.
And what I have seen is a lot of YouTube bombings. They said they've done over five. They said they did over 500 bombings in the past few days. Israel has done 500 bombings, and what they're doing is they're trying to hit these weapons factories. They have chemical weapons factories, and they have all of these munitions. They've got their planes and helicopters, and they've hit done 500 missile launches so far. And the whole mission of that purpose is what Israel is saying is that the bad guys are going to go grab these weapons. They're going to go start ransacking these places, and they don't want them to use them. So they want to do a preemptive attack. The problem is they're doing the drone attacks, which the kids are getting killed, innocent people are getting killed, and that's what their complaints are. But
yeah, it's
I think the attacks are happening so fast that people aren't able to move out of the areas.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's kind of, if you're going to bomb an area, you're definitely going to hit civilians. There's just no two ways around it, unless you specifically strike a military target with a very precision strike. But, most of these countries have their, especially if there's a chemical weapons facility, that's not going to be off in the middle of nowhere. That's going to be, somewhere entrenched. I know a lot of these Arabic countries, they tend to keep military targets near civilians so that they
schools, under hospitals.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like any side in any of these wars, but, let's not pretend that, just because the Middle Eastern, Muslim countries are getting beat to shit, that they're all 100% innocent either. I don't think anyone's innocent in any of these situations. I mean, Israel's wanted Syria to fall. Our military-industrial complex has wanted Syria to fall. All of a sudden now Syria fell. And also, Syria is a big ally of Russia, and there was a thing a while back where they wanted to make an oil pipeline between Qatar and Turkey. I don't know if you've heard about this. There was the Qatar-Turkey pipeline. Have you? Are you familiar?
I have not, no. But
Okay, so
I'm sure Turkey can use it. They use all kinds of resources there. It's a big country.
well, the point of it was to get. I mean, Turkey also, but Turkey
Not
obviously
to
would have
use Russia's
benefited quite
oil.
a bit. But yeah, the purpose of it was to get oil from the Middle East to Europe and not have to rely solely on Russia. But since Syria has always been a Russian ally, Assad is. I mean, obviously he ran off to Russia to get protected. So he's friendly with Putin at the very least, and they told the West, no, this would upset our ally Russia, and we're not going to do it. And so now this hurts Russia because the first thing they're going to do is build this damn pipeline. We all know that. And, even though the West says, no, we're not at war with Russia. I mean, we're at war with Russia. We're supplying their enemies with tons of weapons and financial aid and all this other stuff. So we're definitely at war. Biden authorized those strikes into Russia with long-range missiles. And
Zelensky's doing thank yous on Twitter, thanking Biden for the $20 billion he just sent him.
Yeah, the last 20 billion. I mean,
the last 20 billion. Yeah,
we're approaching like 200 billion. Let's see, how much. Money.
Yeah, we've sent a lot of money and a lot of resources that could have done a lot of good for a lot of places all over the world besides there. So, yeah, it's unfortunate.
Let's see. That's
not like
out
we're
of date.
Rich
it
anyway.
says 61. It says 61 billion, but I know we're like, yeah, okay. So it's 175 billion now that we're at.
175 billion.
Yeah, it's funny because the same people that are pro, we must protect Ukraine because Russia is the great evil, and not that Russia isn't bad, right? I'm not saying that, but the same people that said we need to send 175 billion to Ukraine, they didn't want to put up 20 billion for a wall. They didn't want to put up, they're now saying that we could. This is the new one. We could stop homelessness with $25 billion. They put up a challenge to Elon saying, hey, you have $200 billion. With $6 billion of those, we could end world hunger. And at the time, Elon actually said, well, you know what? Give me a plan that actually looks like it could work. And I just got on. I've been arguing with people on Twitter all day about this because he said, put up a plan where we can end world hunger, like a real plan, and I'll put up the $6 billion. I'll cash out some stock and I'll do it. And they never got to him with an actual plan. The UN put out a memo saying, here's how you could give us $6 billion to help fight world hunger, but not end it, like they were all saying. But they would just squander that away and launder it, and it'll end up in mansions for those people. But yeah, they're ridiculous, but they want to still fund Ukraine to the tune of 175 billion.
I just did the math. It was $583 per U.S. citizen.
Oh
so
my God.
Almost $600 per U.S. citizen.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, we're all suffering here. $600. I mean, to some
Merry
people
Christmas.
That's not a lot, but that's Christmas gifts. That's, for some people that's enough to cover rent. Not
$600
where
for
I'm
Christmas.
at, but
that's per child and per person and for everybody in your household. So multiply that up
ridiculous.
If you've got a big family.
It's really ridiculous the way we're just spending and spending and spending. Like, I just don't I don't see how it's sustainable, especially now that the Middle East is dropping the petrodollar for the most part. It seems like they're taking Chinese currency and Russian currency, and it's only a matter of time before they just say, hey, dollars are fine, but use your own currencies if it's, anything halfway decent even. which that'll just continue to drop our economy. But yeah,
what do these rich people care if they, the rich politicians, what do they care if the whole economy in America goes to shit? They don't. They just, they're going to create their workforce that they want. And it seems like it's moving us closer to that global new world order type thing that, everybody was scared of in the 2000s.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're definitely moving towards that. It's funny because they have all these, this whole Alien Disclosure Act that they're trying to get passed to, like, get governments to release all the alien information. And several whistleblowers have come out and said, we're not alone in the galaxy now, and we've been visited, and all this other propaganda stuff. Back in, I want to say, I was working at the TSA at the time. It was like 05-ish. It was when I really started waking up to a lot of the corruption stuff that goes on in government and seeing like how this is what they're kind of moving to as a global government. I was like, back then I said, you know what, 2015, I thought that was going to be the time at the latest. They're going to fake an alien invasion and that'll be the thing. It was just like the Independence Day movie, right? Everyone's separate, divided, and then all of a sudden there's this alien threat that we all have to join together to fight. And I back then I thought, you know what, if they wanted to get global government, they'll fake an alien invasion, and then people will be like begging for a global government to stop the alien threat.
Or Will Smith, one of the two.
Well, yeah, I mean, but in real life, Will Smith is kind of a pussy. Not like in the movies.
Yeah, he's got to smack like younger, like lower, like shorter people than him. He's got to pick on the short guy.
Yeah, he's only willing to attack like Chris Rock. Come on. Chris Rock is practically a midget. He's an old man and he's a midget, and Will Smith is like this big jack guy. Yeah, Will Smith is not fighting any goddamn aliens. But let's see. So what else has happened in Syria? There are Syrians who are out in the streets celebrating, because I guess a lot of Syrians, again, this is stuff that's coming out of the news, so it might not all be accurate. A lot of our news gets propagandized, but there's Syrians out celebrating the end of Assad. They already have a transitional government run by Mohammed Ghazi Jalali. And
Mohammed al-Bashar. Mohammed al-Bashar. That's their transitional prime minister.
Okay, they gave me the wrong name here, but yeah, so this is going to destabilize the region too.
Al-Bashar seems like a familiar name as well, but I'd have to do some more research on that name.
Yeah, but this whole region is going to destabilize. Depending on what direction the new government goes. I mean, the Kurds have always been a at-risk group because they're kind of like the Muslims that none of the other Muslims like. I mean, they all kind of hate each other anyway, but the Kurds are like a very small population at the north end of Syria, and I believe also in the north end of Iraq, and they're basically everyone's whipping boy. And
well, they're the west end of Turkey as well, also known as the PKK in Turkey before the Turkish Revolution in the 80s. So the Turkish had a revolution in the 80s. The PKK are the Kurds that live on the, I believe, the
eastern end, right? Or the
I guess it'd be the southern end. It'd be the southern end of Turkey.
Yeah.
South west. If I'm not really looking at the map, but
gotcha. Yeah, no, it's definitely gonna. I worry for them. It's not gonna be good depending on who gets in. I mean, it probably doesn't matter unless they can muster a big enough presence to influence the new government, or if the new government is actually liberal in that sense. I mean, it's the Middle East. They're not going to be liberal in any kind of sense that we view as liberal, but if they're liberal in the sense of not wanting to kill all of the Kurds, then that would be a good thing for them. I doubt that's what's going to happen. Seems like, from what I'm seeing reported, a lot of Christians are getting killed in Syria right now as well, which is not a good thing. But honestly, I really, it's not that I don't care about Christians or anything. I'm not a Christian, but, it's just bad when anyone dies in the Middle East, regardless of who it is. But obviously Americans are going to identify with the Christians more than anything, over there. And that could, if there's a lot of Christians dying, that could urge a lot of the right wing, who lately have been very anti-war, into wanting to send troops over there. But I'm not sure. It feels like a trap, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think we're much involved with this as far as anything else beyond our connections with Israel, who is fighting that, and we would back Israel in that case because they were backing Palestine to come and attack them. So that pretty much ended that whole the whole war that Israel's having. So not ended it, but it definitely drastically reduced any probable missile attacks that they were coming under bombardment with from the missiles that were coming out of that country. So
yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I just pulled it up. There's 2 million Christians in Syria, and the HTS group has been targeting Christians throughout the region. People have been getting attacked, kidnapped, property confiscated. So yeah, the Christians are not going to have a good time. And if the Christians are not going to have a good time, that definitely probably also means that the Kurds aren't going to have a good time. And this is, we funded these people to go in there and do what they're doing. Indirectly, because I haven't found anything that says that the U.S. did it directly, funded it directly, even that Israel funded it directly. But I'm sure we are covertly involved. Like I already said, we already know that Turkey is involved, so it's not good, and it might convince some right wingers to want to send troops to save the Christians and all that. And I mean, we're still in Iraq, right? I know we withdrew from Afghanistan, but we're still in Iraq. And then Iran is just like the next step that, that the military industrial complex has always wanted. It was like Syria and Iran were the last two to fall. They got Libya. That was the last big one after Iraq. Then they got Libya, and then there was only Syria and Iran. I'm going to pull up a Middle East map just so we can kind of have a good view of it.
We get over there, China, North Korea, and Russia. We got global domination.
Yeah, definite. So let's see. Just pulled up a quick Google Maps of it. So here we are. So there's Syria. Jordan, I believe, is kind of like a semi-friendly nation to us. I know that they have been on friendlier terms with Israel. There's Israel, obviously, West Bank and Gaza, Sinai Peninsula, which is part of Egypt, but was part of Israel a while back. They had the war against Egypt like in the 40s, I think. Iraq, which we still occupy. And then right next door is Iran, which is what they've always wanted to go after. And yeah, it's not going to be good. Iran has already been bombing Israel directly. as we know, ever since Israel's been on Gaza. Iran started bombing. There was one point where there was like, I think like 200 bombs a day coming from Iran. And, you know, with this fall of Syria, it's just a matter of time, I think, before we start heading that way. And it's not going to be good because Iran's not an easy land to conquer, very mountainous. They do have no one's got a good military in comparison to us, right? But they're not like pushovers. It's not like going to be like Iraq where we can just go in and knock them all out and be done with it. It's going to be a much tougher battle if we have to go against Iran, especially with their terrain. But I mean, there's a lot of oil and there's a lot of stuff to be rebuilt for, what's it called? What was the Cheney company?
We can make some money off of it.
Yeah.
We can make some money, but BlackRock can fund the oil and fund the war machine that they have invested in. And the politicians keep getting their kickbacks. I think that we'll be okay for another war.
Yeah, they really.
There was a amendment to the Constitution proposed in 1918 or something like that, and it said that if you vote yes for war, then you have to be willing to sign up for the draft or the war at that time. So if you were for going into another war, you had to be for signing up to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if that. I'm sure that didn't pass.
It didn't pass. It didn't pass, but.
Yeah, I mean, they should have. Honestly, they should make it that if you vote for war, your kid has to go, or you personally, if you don't have a kid, because otherwise you're literally you don't have any stake in it, and you're just voting for other people's kids to go fight in the war.
It would definitely make the country rethink, why am I going to war right now? Because when you look at most all of our wars, they're not really for a cause that directly impacts us. They're for what we would call a humanitarian cause, but there's people in that general area that need to worry about those problems first, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean it's what do they call it? American interests, which never have anything to do with normal everyday Americans. It's always got to do with, you know, business that is happening overseas, or military bases, or, you know, whatever else it is. But it's never like we're getting attacked over here or Americans got taken hostage. It's never any of that. You know, it's not any of it. And like, have you heard about the drones over New Jersey?
I saw something about, was it Iranian drones in Jersey or something like that? What was it?
So they're trying to say that there is that there's a mothership, a drone mothership out there, and they're launching smaller drones that are like spy drones, kind of like gathering information and all that, and it's really, really, really odd. But they're trying to promote it as it's Iran. There were a couple of Congress people that said it, and then the Pentagon came out and said, no, that's not it. It's not them. We don't know who it is. It's not ours, but it's not Iran either. So it's like, who's telling the truth? I mean, I don't believe that it's Iran, but also why is the, you know, Pentagon saying it's not Iran when that's kind of what they want?
What kind of drones are they? You disappeared, by the way, off the screen. But what kind of drones are they? I mean, what are they equipped with? I mean, we saw that Chinese weather balloon that was over here had all kinds of spy radar on it. We heard about that right away. So could this drone be from a kid having a drone? Or, you know, people can buy $10,000 drones nowadays and fly them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure. They were saying that it's there. Apparently there's one big drone off of the coast, and it's there's other drones coming out of it. Let me see what I can find on it. If I can find any video or anything, because
it's like a spider hatching.
Yeah, and it was not just New Jersey. It was a couple other places. I believe, I want to say it was North Carolina also. It was a couple of places along the East Coast. Give me a sec. I'm gonna
the start of Independence Day. It's really aliens.
Well, that could be what they're trying to. That could be what the Pentagon is trying to promote, right? But no, I mean, you can see. Let's see here from the Guardian. So this is what the drones look like, apparently, and.
Oh yeah, made in Syria. Says it right on there.
No, they haven't. They were advising. I was listening to something just before we went live, and they were talking about how the local authorities were advising people to try and shoot them down, which is kind of ridiculous.
That you can't do that.
It's not. I mean,
they advised them to go disregard FAA rules and shoot down aircrafts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not allowed to shoot a drone down. I think that the drone, they need to figure something out, because if you're flying a drone over someone's property, like, that's kind of creepy at the very least, and invasion of privacy, and, you know, I mean, look, I'm in Florida. If I have a gate closed on my property and you step over it, I can legally shoot you. If I'm not, I'm not expecting company and you cross into my gate, I can shoot you. A drone flying over my house, I should be able to shoot it down. Like, I don't see. Yeah, I know you can't, because it's.
They just arrested a Florida man for doing that last week.
I know. It would be a Florida man.
It was a Florida man. He stepped outside his house. It was like a Walmart drone or something along those lines. It dropped a package down. He saw it drop the package, and he thought it was there to, like, drop a bomb on him or something. He thought he was in danger. So he shot the drone, and the cops came and asked him about it. He's like, yeah, I shot that drone down. It's like, I thought it was going to hurt me. He's like, you can't shoot the drone down. And they arrested him. But I guess he thought it was going to hurt you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
We don't know what these things have.
No, you don't. I mean, yeah, most consumer drones are little tiny ones. I mean, I own a drone. It's tiny. You would never mistake it for something that's carrying a weapon. But there are bigger, commercial drones that I've seen. I mean, there's, like you said, there's ones that are like $10,000 and, like, ridiculously priced. But there are some legit, like, stuff that they use in actual movies to catch, like, big, longer overhead shots. And, there's no telling. I mean, one of those could just crash into you and it would do some serious damage. Let me see. I'm going to Google movie drones. Oh, great. So there's a movie called Drone. For drones. Of course. Yeah, look. I've got it here. Let me pull this up real quick. Oh, wait. Wrong one. There you are. Yeah, I mean, these are pretty intense looking. I mean, some of these are on gimbals, but look, this is a big ass drone that can carry a full on camera. If that thing comes at my house, I'm gonna look at it. I mean, that stabilizer where the camera goes, that could be holding some kind of weapon. Like, how do you know? Max weight. Well,
they make
75
They make
pounds.
Drones I can buy. I've researched them. I want to go drone fishing. So you
what do you mean drone fishing?
You hook your bait to the drone flies out, and it's got a release, and it drops the bait.
Oh,
And the
wow.
drone, get this, the drone can drop down in the water and go on reserve mode until you pick it back up and it drags the shit back to you. So I've looked up drone fishing and it's I'm going to get one. They're like $500 for the drone, and they will pull like big weights. You can get them to pull, 5-10 pounds out there. They even got boats that do it too. They got
That's
boats that'll
cool.
go out there and drop your weight or drop your lure or whatever, and then it'll sit there in the water, or you can have it come back.
That's cool. I didn't even know that was a thing, to be honest. Yeah, no, it's kind of insane because like that drone that I just showed you, it can hold 75 pounds. Like you could put a small bomb on there, like that's kind of crazy.
Well, that's what they're doing over there in wartime. They're doing that over in. You've seen the videos of the drones coming in there and just blowing people up. They carry a payload, either drop it or they run right into the people.
Yeah, I mean especially with all the wow, look at this shit. That one. That looks like something that should be a weapon if it's not, That definitely looks like something that should be a weapon. But yeah, I mean,
that'll reduce your Syria attack times or stuff. Whenever we're going through Syria, they'll use a lot of those drones to clear out whatever they want to clear out.
Yeah, well, they use bigger drones. They're more like small jets, kind of the ones that they use for war mainly. But yeah, it's kind of wild. Like these smaller drones. I think it was China was supposedly developing some kind of almost like small, like a big drone that then goes and drops off a bunch of little drones that have explosives attached to them, and they can kind of like since they're so small, they don't get detected by like flight control and stuff like that, and they can target a bunch of little targets with those. Let me see, mini bomb.
They got those on Temu
drones. I don't think they're gonna sell us those. Let's see. Rise of tiny FPV drones in war, how they're used. Yeah, this is an article from May of 2024, and yeah, look, they're using them in Ukraine. Drone wing, just a few pounds, could blow up a 46-ton tank, according to this report. Yeah, I mean, if we can't shoot these drones, and then we get attacked by these drones, what the hell are we gonna do? I don't care. If I see something that looks like an ominous threat, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6,
That's very true. Very true.
Yeah.
I'm not close enough, I don't think, to any of that target zone by drone, but maybe, you never know.
They would have to go pretty deep into like, it's not, you're not within that target, I don't think. I definitely am. I mean, I think they would not really focus on my area too much. They'd focus more on like downtown Miami, South Beach, like big popular areas, because those drones aren't going to have like giant bombs, but they will have bombs that can do some pretty serious damage. But it's worrisome. I mean, even I think it was a year and a half ago, Russia had a submarine that was spotted off of the coast of South Florida, like maybe
they all freaked out
10
with DEFCON
miles
5
out or something like that. Yeah. Now, my guess, and pretty much everyone that I know that I spoke with about it, was that that's Putin trying to like basically say, hey, I'm not too far if I need to be, right? If I need to get in there, I can. That was his way of saying, hey, don't get too cocky. But
that was his new sub that was undetectable. So that means that he probably wanted to be detected, like you said.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what I think. He wanted to be detected, and he wanted America to know, hey, I can strike at any moment if I really want to. And
yeah, and they thought that sub was in California at the time.
Oh wow, that part I didn't know.
They thought it was. Yeah, they thought that sub was over by California, and it popped up in Florida, and they were like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, but I mean, this whole Syria thing, to get back to it a little bit, it's gonna be an escalation against Russia, basically. Like, this is a strategic big loss for Russia because they lose an ally in the region. They're losing, which port is it? I know they had a port that they used in the area. Let me see if I can find it. I'm trying to get back to the Syria map. Let's see. I think it's these are big overhead maps. I'm trying to find the whole. Yeah, there we go. That's the one.
Yeah, you're right about Russia losing allies. I mean, I think he's down to what, Cuba and Korea, right?
And China.
And China, yeah.
Yeah, so the Tartus and I'm not even going to try to butcher that, but that word, airbase, are two Russian military installments right there on the, I guess that's the Mediterranean, I want to say.
Yeah, that's the, I think that's the Mediterranean.
Yeah, it is the Mediterranean. Yeah, and you know, Russia doesn't have a lot of, they don't really have any ports on that side of the world. That's part of the big reason that they're going after Ukraine is, you know, because there's a port there that they use or that they're using. And also, you know, they want the grain production from that region of Ukraine because a lot of Russian land isn't really suitable for farming because it's like
no, they
frozen
can't
land.
grow hardly anything over there.
Yeah, so this is like a really big blow to Russia, this whole Syria thing, and especially when you factor in that pipeline that we already know is gonna get built, and that's gonna hurt the Russian economy, and this might push. I mean, look, the media tells us at once, Putin is a madman who is a despot and an autocrat, and he doesn't care what he does. And Russia is evil, and Putin is the most evil of the evil Russians, and all this other crap. And I don't think Putin's a good guy, but you know, they turned him into like a cartoon villain. But at the same time, then they're like, "Oh no, we can fight him all we want. He's not going to nuke anyone." Well, which is it? Is he like this evil guy that's like a madman that's going to nuke at you know, the first sign of he's going down, or is he a stable person who's calm and isn't really going to take this slight in a bad way? It's one or the other. But I mean, I think it's somewhere in between, personally. But
you grow up in think about Russia for the past 200 years. Think of it. They grew up in a bad neighborhood. You know, Russia grew up in bad times. In the past, you know, 100 years, they've came 300 years in evolution. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be that much, but they didn't have cars over there until like the 20s. They didn't have any truck production. They weren't moving any vehicles. They're using they're still using horse and carriage in a lot of places in Russia. So these people have this pride that just doesn't go away. Like, they're proud. The people, the people that ruled them 150 years ago, those guys were hardcore. The people that were ruling them during World War I, that era, those were some cruel people. Those people would send. Those people were cruel. Like, you didn't want to go to prison there. If you were in prison for 5 years, you were dead. They put you to go mine in mines that you had to like go underground in the freezing ass cold. Everybody died from like being in the mines after like a month or two. They let you outside to chop wood in Siberia. It's just like these really terrible conditions. So now that they've built truck plants and they've got this economy going, they're doing pretty good. So they've got this pride of, we came from a terrible place and we've come so far. And I guarantee you, Putin, even though he, the villain side of Putin is the whole, I was a mob boss kind of guy, like the whole mob thing. And I guess, aren't all of these politicians in some kind of a mob?
Oh,
this
definitely.
guy just kind of like is this kind of, the mob over in Russia is a little different than the mob in the United States of America. So that's what we're pointing out, is that difference there. It still takes a man with balls to run something the way he's able to run it. And he's looked upon more highly than anybody in the Western civilization could actually think. I mean, his people are really happy that they're not living under Gorbachev in the USSR, where they were starving in food lines in the 80s. So yeah. I'd say they're much better off than they are. And now he's trying to go take back land that was once theirs under part of the United Soviet Socialist Republic. So
yep.
I'm not saying I'm for him, but I can say that he cares for his people like any good ruler would.
Yeah. I mean, the ones he doesn't have offed, right? He definitely has a bunch offed too.
Don't cross him.
But, but no, I mean, and he's not, it's not even that he's a mobster, right? He came up in the KGB, which, I mean, think about how bad our feds are, or, our spooks of the CIA. I mean, the KGB, like, the meme about Russia is, don't fuck with Russians because they're tough as shit, right? They drink vodka all day and fight bears. And he was the head of their spook organization. So this guy is like, one, he's extremely intelligent. You can be mad that I said that all you want. I mean, not you, but people out there. But he is a very intelligent guy, and underestimating him is a bad move. Not only that, but he has to be the coolest, calmest, most collected, most calculating kind of guy to run the KGB and not get killed by someone who wants to come up above him back in the Soviet days. And then to take over the country, leave rulership, because he left rulership for, I want to say like 8 years-ish, more or less, and then come back to rule the country again. And, the West keeps saying he wants to bring back the USSR. I don't necessarily believe that. I think he, like you said, he wants to reclaim land that was theirs, that's strategic for them. And he also wants a buffer between himself and NATO, because obviously you can't trust the West. And that's not to say that, like I said, all these other countries are great and we're just terrible. All the countries are terrible. All the governments lie, do what they want in the back end. And it's just, people tend to support their own country because that's the patriotic thing to do, right? But the U.S. government is just as bad as all these other governments. It's just they hide it from us better than, our media propaganda machine is busy exposing what these other corrupt governments are doing, but they're not going to expose what our corrupt governments are doing. So that's kind of the issue, one of the issues, but like, they're all terrible. Putin's not great, but it's like you said, he did help rebuild their economy from when they were crumbling under communism, and he's got them, I don't know if he backed the currency with gold. I think he did. But if not, I know he brought in a lot of gold. I know that was one of the big things he was doing, was taking in a lot of gold, to have some kind of asset to keep the Russian economy stronger, after they, blocked them from the SWIFT payments, network. And us doing what we did to try and hurt his economy forced him to make his economy a lot better and a lot more stable, so that now if he does get accepted into like the West again, he has a little more leverage because he already survived them boycotting him once and seizing, God, I don't even know how, $900 billion of assets, I think it was, that they seized from Russians. Something like that. They froze bank accounts and seized like yachts and other things from the oligarchs over there. And yeah, I mean, they've forced themselves to become stronger economically. But this thing with Syria, if they really do build that pipeline, this is going to really, really escalate what's going on with Russia right now. And I just, it feels like I mean, God, I hope Trump can get in and do whatever it is he has to do to make this thing, end, like all this craziness. I just wonder if we've escalated too far for that now. Because, for instance, Kim Jong-un, I forget which one is in power. He's in power forever. He doesn't have to worry about, anyone telling him anything other than what he wants to do. He's in power. He's the guy. There's no worry. What he says goes. So if he makes a deal with someone, that deal is good until the day they execute him and the next dictator comes in, right? But you got plenty of time. Same thing with Xi Jinping. Same thing with Putin. In the West, though, Trump could be in and everything could be all peaceful and happy and loving. And then the next guy that gets in might be a big time Russia hawk. So they can't really trust any American government because they're not in power long enough to, to have these long-term agreements. So I think we might be beyond the point of no return with Russia right now. And I've been saying it for a long time. I think that the Russia thing is and the Israel thing with, the Gaza attacks and all that, October 7th, I feel like it's all a distraction. And this next step is China's going to take Taiwan. And then we are screwed because they make 90% of the chips that go, the high quality, complex chips, like the ones that power computers, cars, smart homes, manufacturing equipment, all that stuff, TVs. So if China does take Taiwan, economically, we are a third world nation instantly because we didn't get our fabs built, and also they'll get all the technology because we send our IP over there, our intellectual property, the plans for the chips, and they're there in the Taiwan fabrication. So China would instantly gain access to the knowledge of how to make those chips. And, it's not going to be good. It's definitely not going to be good if they do that. And I really feel like that's these two fronts that we're kind of warring on. I feel like it's just a distraction. And the minute we commit boots to the ground, they're going to take Taiwan. And there's nothing, I don't want us going into any war, but
it's not America that, America doesn't control the world. I mean, hopefully we have some support from other people.
Well, we'll have support from like Europe, some of it anyway. But I mean, even in this Ukraine war, we've sent was 175 billion when I just looked it up. And Europe has not even matched us between all of them. Let me see if I can find the actual number of what they've sent.
I thought it was minuscule compared, like a fifth of what
I'm sure
sent.
it is. How much? Let's see if I can find an up-to-date number. So it seems like Europe committed to send 41 billion euros in aid, and they've only sent 125 billion. So they were supposed to be
like half of us or so.
Let me see. What's the
we were at 170. That's at 120. So 200 and almost $300 billion just gone.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I said, they've sent so $1. €1 is $1.05 right now, so it's almost even. So they were supposed to send $241 billion effectively, like 270-ish, I guess, and they've only sent about 130 worth. So yeah, and we've sent 175, so they haven't even come close to matching us, even though they've committed to do so, to more than match us, because I mean, come on, it's like 20 countries in Europe and we're just one country, and it's on their land. They should definitely be the ones footing the bill for this, and they're not. They're leaving it to Big Daddy America because that's what other countries do. So it's kind of fucked. It's kind of fucked. And so yeah, I don't.
Well, she's getting eaten alive by the inside out.
Yeah, and I mean, and the other thing is, it's not just our economy is terrible right now, but out of all the every country's doing terrible right now, and we're doing the least terrible out of everyone, basically. All the currencies have kind of devaluated quite a bit since COVID, just because you print an infinite amount of money and then your currency goes way down. But the dollar has devalued less than, as crazy as this sounds, with as much as we printed, because it was trillions. We added like 50% to our debt during that time, and the dollar has lost less value than the other currencies. So we're hurting less than they are somehow, even though it definitely doesn't feel like it. But what you said is, it can't just be America doing this, but at the end of the day, it will be those European countries. I mean, think about it. If they're so against Russia, why are they still buying gas from Russia? It's like they're funding the opposition to the country that they're funding to fight, right? They're funding Ukraine, but then they're also buying gas from Russia, who is then using their money to keep fighting Ukraine and making them spend more money fighting them in Ukraine. Make it make sense, man.
And like you said, everybody across the world is doing bad. Somebody's doing good. Somebody's doing really good, because when you have so much suffering going on across the world, somebody's got to be benefiting from the suffering.
Well, the people that are benefiting are the multinational corporations. That's for damn sure. The Amazons that were allowed to stay open, the Walmarts, the McDonald's, and all these multinational corporations, they're doing just fine. They're doing amazing. And it's the mom and pops, the everyday citizens that can't get by check to check. It's everyone that isn't either a politician or some kind of oligarch, basically, is really hurting, and they're not hurting one bit. It's like you said, like, America has made these great enemies of China and Russia, right? Like, it's known that we don't like China. It's not a hidden secret. Our politicians have actively called them the enemy already. And they are. No mistake about it. They're definitely the enemy. But Europe, they'll, if it came down to it, they would bend down and take it and deal with China, even though it like screws us all. Like if we got into war with them, Europe would still do business with them, I'm sure, because they're doing it now with Russia, and it doesn't make any sense.
We'd still do business with them. The people would still demand a Bic lighter made in China. They're still going to demand their Chinese goods.
It's true. I mean,
Americans, they don't want to give up the luxuries in life that they have, that they're accustomed to.
It's one of, all these people say, oh, Trump is going to tariff 25% or 50% or 100%, and then Americans won't be able to afford anything. Well, then businesses will be forced to open here and do things here, and then Americans will have better paying jobs and will be supporting Americans who are doing these jobs, even though we're going to end up paying more because, made in America, American labor is higher. It'll end up being more expensive than buying a Chinese good, but not once you factor in the ridiculous tariffs that they're going to put on. And those tariffs are going to help bring businesses back. It's going to raise the economy, and it's not going to be right away either. It's going to take a while. But also the other thing that has to go with that so that American goods can be cheaper is deregulation. Regulation and business taxation are two of the things that make American products cost as much as they do. But yeah, he's gonna tariff everyone. Fuck them all.
Well, you were mentioning these multinational corporations, and these are things that people, for the listeners out there, the viewers, this is things that people don't really think about that much. Now, when you're watching the Olympics, what do you see? You see Coca-Cola. It's not that big of a deal. You don't really realize that you're watching like the Paris Olympics or the Russian Olympics. You don't really, it's Coca-Cola's there. But one example is I went to Turkey. Everywhere it's Jack Daniels. They serve Jack Daniels, so that's a big thing over there. You can get Coca-Cola was another big thing, but Domino's Pizza, the little things. Domino's Pizza was founded by Tom Monahan in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Okay, he sold it. It's been sold since then, and I'm there, and they've got guys on mopeds that deliver Domino Pizza. So you've got all these really big companies now, and they won't have to pay those tariffs because we'll just make the Domino's pizzas there. They'll make them over here, and they won't have to pay the tariffs. So you're going to have companies like that. But if you want to use that ink pen from China and it costs 3 times as much, people are going to start using alternatives. And if we can't make this ink pen affordable here in America, what we can do is we can make a pencil, and people will start using pencils instead of ink pens, or they'll start using a cell phone that we can make instead of the Chinese cell phones, in my opinion. People will
and
adapt.
There'll be, I mean, if they made an iPhone here with the current regulations and all that, the iPhone would cost like $3,000, hands down.
They can make all that stuff here, but what it's set up for are these Google platforms. The phones, they make phones that are no brands. They're not no brands, but not an iPhone and things like that. But they don't work off of those platforms. They don't work off of Google. People don't want it. They won't be a successful company.
Right. Well, there's even cheap Google Android phones, not made by Google, like made by rinky-dink companies that are cheap. But most people just go for the iPhone, the Samsung, or the Google, or Samsung has been pretty much the most popular Android phone. Google more recently has kind of gained popularity. Apple obviously is the phone that everyone and their mother has. I don't have one. I have, Android, but there's also cheap Samsung Android phones, but people just want the big shiny thing, and I'm guilty of it myself. But there's ways to make things cheaper, we don't always need the best of the best, but we've kind of become such a consumerist, and there's nothing wrong with wanting things or, you know, wanting luxuries, being a consumerist, but we've kind of screwed ourselves. We're living way beyond our means, most of us, you know? And so that's like a big issue, is that we are living way, way beyond our means. No one needs to upgrade $1,000 phone or $1,200 phone every year, but people do it. And it's like endless payments forever. Like I'll keep
like
my phone until I'll keep my phone until it is destroyed or I lose it. That's happened too. But yeah, I lost one at a concert like a year ago, but you know, I paid the insurance fee and my phone is paid off, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, we'll keep taking payments. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Patrick Bet-David. He does Valuetainment, and he's talking about like a lot of these buy now, pay later kind of things where you like pay in four or whatever. They're really kind of screwing people over, because if it's fine if you pay it on time, but if you don't pay it on time, then like your payment gets doubled. So like,
oh yeah,
you can end up owing like
interest.
2-3 times what you end up buying the thing for, and ruining your credit even further. Because if you're using one of those, you probably have bad credit already. But yeah, we're just constantly just like, okay, I'm going to make payments and bank more payments, and we just pile on payments. And instead we could be living a little more simply, you know, trying to save what we can, and in the long run be happier. But man, they really market to the lowest common denominator, and we eat it all up.
Well, yeah,
And
I think that's an American thing as well, as everybody wants to outdo their neighbors. Everybody wants to have the coolest shoes, the fastest car, the classiest car. Even inside your home, I got to have the best stuff. I mean, people like to have the best stuff. When I was growing up, we'd call it wine's taste on a beer's budget.
yeah, I mean, honestly, like the only thing I spend money on is like lighting and video equipment these days. But like everything
I buy a
else,
lot of
it's like
basketball cards now.
that's good though. Yeah, but you do all right, and like, not for nothing. I know you personally. You know, it's not like you're just an internet friend. I know you personally. You do all right, but you know, a lot of us here at the check to check level, man, I don't buy fancy shoes. I just buy whatever's cheap wherever I can find them. You know, there's a lot of like discount shoe places that they have like not the newest Nikes, but like Nikes from 2-3 generations ago that are like
Nikes.
Surplus. Yeah. But you know, I'll spend like $40-$50 on a pair of shoes. That's it. No more. That's it. I won't do more than that.
Mine are
you know,
$30.
clothes.
I buy Skechers.
Yeah, I bought Skechers. Skechers are great. But yeah, like clothes, I buy Walmart. I'm actually gonna shop on Amazon for clothes this next batch of clothes, because I found them pretty cheap right now. Which sucks. I hate Amazon and I hate Walmart, but gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's because we've allowed these multinational corporations to like basically rule us, that you don't have like a mom and pop shop that can compete. And you know, you can't really support your local economy unless you go on like a place like Etsy or whatever, where people are handcrafting stuff. But yeah, like there's no shop like, you know,
Aco
Tom's
Hardware.
Shoes,
All the hardware
where
stores are closing up.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's
your
like Home
hardware
Depot
stores
and
are
Lowe's and Harbor Freight. Even Ace Hardware, which was kind of popular back in the day, there I don't even think I've seen one in a while. But yeah, we just keep on shrinking the amount of companies we deal with. They keep on getting, you know, eating up their competition, and it's, you know, it's all just essentially everything we buy is like owned by like 4 companies, 5 companies, BlackRock,
eBay,
State Street, Vanguard.
Amazon.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's wild. It's really wild. It's a bad situation all around, but yeah, I think people Like, it's like you said, okay, yeah, we really need to like hurt China's economy if we're going to be at war with them, but no one's going to want to give up their cheap Chinese goods. So I think, if Trump really does get in, puts in those tariffs, forces people to start building and creating here, maybe there's a chance. It's going to be hard though. Before he got elected, I was very much of the opinion that the Democrats didn't want to. I still think the Democrats didn't want to win. But one of the big reasons is because they know the economy is going to crash. And it's almost like there's pretty much nothing that can be done to save it. If there is someone who can do it, it's Trump. He's saying a lot of the things that I think would save it, like, cutting the shit out of business taxes and regulation and in like all forms of taxes on the American people. But is he going to be able to shrink government enough to make that feasible? If someone can do it, I mean, he's got Vivek and Elon running the Department of Government Efficiency, which is going to try and cut out a lot of the waste. If anyone can cut enough, it's those two. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting. That's for damn sure.
We'll have to go through those cabinet picks in the near future and see what we think we end up doing.
I've been wanting to go through them, and then things just keep on, like this whole Syria situation just popped out of nowhere. It's like too much stuff happening all at once. And it's like that cabinet pick list is so long. I mean, you saw the list I sent you. I narrowed it down quite a bit, like there's no point in talking about, other than the NATO one, like the ambassadors, like those are kind of pointless to talk about, I think, because they don't really, unless we find out that one is like absolutely corrupt and making deals that go against our interests, like ambassadors can't really do too much, I don't think. But there's even cutting out the ambassadors, there's so many positions. Like I didn't ever realize how many cabinet positions there were, but it was like, I think like 40 after I made cuts, and then I made more cuts because I was like, this is still too long.
I think did they say there was like 400 different government appointed positions every 4 years or something like that when the new people roll in?
I'd
have to look that one up again.
I thought I heard Trump talking about it, and it's something like 1,200 people. And he was like, I didn't know any of these people. Like, how can you know that many people? So I just took recommendations from people, and that's why he said that he was, basically taking advantage of the first time around because he didn't really know anyone.
Yeah, he had to trust the people that was with him. Well, I've got to wrap it up pretty soon.
Okay. Yeah, let me just look up this real quick, and then we can wrap it up.
We don't have to go right now. I was just we can wrap up a couple final points.
Let's see. Holy shit. Every presidential election, the incoming administration must fill over 1,200 Senate-confirmed positions and 354 presidential appointments without Senate confirmation. And additionally, there are 724 non-career senior executive service positions and numerous Schedule C appointments that also need to be filled. So it's like over 2,000 people. It's probably like 2,500 to 3,000. That's a lot. Wow. That is a lot. Wow. Yeah, like I think that's one of the big things that Elon and Vivek are going to be working on, is like cutting all those numbers down. Also,
how can you choose that many loyal people?
You can't. You don't know that many people. There's no way you can put loyal people in all those positions. I mean, the goal is to put loyal people in the big positions and then hope that they know enough people, because I'm sure a lot of them are people that work in those departments under the big positions. So you kind of hope, okay, well, if I put, whoever, who's one of the Marco Rubio. I don't trust him. I don't like him, but I'm just going to use him as an example. So let's say Trump actually trusts Marco Rubio. He needs to then trust that Marco Rubio knows enough trustworthy people to work under him in the State Department, and so on and so forth. So there's a whole lot of links in the chain that can be broken to destroy the whole chain, you know? It's too much for anyone to pick. Like, it's just dumb. The system is dumb. It's too big. It needs to be shrunk. And yeah, we've just outgrown all sense of sanity. And in my opinion, with government, how big it's gotten. Yeah, I don't think there's any way anyone can honestly pick that many good people. It's just ridiculous. And you know, he's just looking over the list already. You know, I sent you the list. I crossed out the ones that I thought, or erased the ones that I thought were like, it's not worth talking about them. And I highlighted the ones that I thought, okay, these are like the big ones. And there's some that I really like, and there's a lot that I'm like either questionable or completely dislike, like Marco Rubio. Dislike him completely. That guy's kind of a snake. He's, you know, from Florida, so I've semi-followed him for a while already. Definitely don't trust him, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what comes, because I think that Trump having the 4 years off from being president, like if he would have won the last election, he would still be kind of like lost in the sense of not know who to trust, not know how to fix the problems within the government, because he didn't really get to fix anything in the government itself last time around. And so I think that the 4 years off kind of gave him a good amount of time to plan and strategize. And even if he picks some of the wrong people, at least he knows what he needs to do. And he's surrounded himself with at least... And Elon, I don't fully trust anyone that wants to put brain chips in people. So let's just be real about that one. But, you know, as far as like making a company run efficiently, he's kind of the man. And he's working side by side with Ron Paul and Vivek, who are like, Ron Paul's like my favorite politician of all time. And Vivek is who I hope wins 2028. So I think he's surrounded by people that I would trust enough to ensure that he doesn't screw stuff up or do like mistrust, you know, not trustworthy things. But what do you think about it?
We'll be in for a ride for sure. I'm excited to see what comes of it.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. But yeah, I mean, I do hope that hopefully there's a calmer week this week so that we can get on to the cabinet picks. I think he picked a couple more ambassadors. I know that there's one more like actual cabinet position that he has to pick, so hopefully he gets done with that by the time we start talking about him. But yeah, I do hope we get to actually focus in on that stuff on our next episode, because we've been not able to do it. Just too much, you know, first the pardon. I had to talk about that. I couldn't let that go. And then now this whole war with Syria and well, I mean, technically we're not at war with Syria, but we're at war with Syria. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully things can calm down a little bit so we can catch up on the stuff we haven't been able to hit.
Yeah, and in the mainstream news, they're more worried about the killer that they've caught, the presumed killer that they've caught for the murder of that CEO out in New York City. So is that really the guy, or was he just the fall guy? So there's more going to come out of all of it.
It seems a little too convenient that they just happened to catch him with all that stuff. But I went on his Twitter. Matt Walsh actually posted like a couple of screenshots of his Twitter, and I was like, this looks weird. And he just posted a bunch of things that said, it was like, I screenshotted them all. It was like, I want to say like 12 screenshots of, you know, pages from my phone, where it just says random tweet, colon, and then like a 5 to 6 digit number. And I ran it through ChatGPT to see if it could be anything, like if there was any kind of pattern or anything, and it wasn't. It was just like, and it was all on one day. And it was just like maybe like 150 tweets that said random tweet with a 5 to 6 digit number. So I have no idea. The ChatGPT, the one thing that it said maybe is that it could be that he was trying to test the Twitter API, like automated, like from an external source. So trying to post from something like a computer that would randomly put up posts or whatever. But yeah, it was just really odd. But I don't know if this guy, those were in 2016. I don't know if this guy really did it, but when they caught him, his reaction was really odd. And not odd as in I don't know if he did it. I really don't. But it seemed kind of guilty, but the circumstances surrounding his capture and what they found with him, like he just happened to have a bag of Monopoly money and like a couple different passports, definitely seemed like a sleeper agent or something, you know? What's really got me fucked up about this whole CEO killer is, man, everyone on Twitter seems to be happy that a man got killed. Like, this isn't like Adolf Hitler we're talking about.
Yeah, but pissed off a guy that killed a threatening person got let free. So yeah, that's the backwards world that we're living in.
That one I think is more 50-50, to be fair. You know, that one kind of falls on a left-right divide. But this one, it's like, okay, the religious right is kind of like not cool with a guy getting killed. But man, even some of the more like not, you know, far religious right. I don't like the far left, far right terms, but you know, like the religious, other than the religious right, it seems like most people are just like either completely indifferent, like fuck it, he died, who cares, he was an evil man, or like pure just rejoiced that the CEO got killed and 2 kids are left without a dad. It's like fucked up. It's real.
Yeah, nobody likes insurance adjusters, but especially ones with a 34% denial rate. But yeah, no, I agree. That's the problem. And this kid probably, if this kid did it, it would have been because he had the medical accidents and surgeries and some kind of denial through an insurance company. But he was well off. You know, his family was rich, so I don't see that being a part of it. Well, at any rate, it's getting late for me, so I'm gonna have to ditch out.
All right, man. Well, be easy. Let them know where they can find you, and yeah, I'll end the stream. But it's been good talking.
I can hardly keep my eyes open. It's 11 o'clock. No worries.
Look, I had this audio issue yet again, unfortunately. Hopefully next time.
That's okay. We got through it. You figured it all out. I'm insane1.eth. It's spelled INCANE, the number 1.eth on X search or Van Down by the River. Spelled all messed up, so you might not find me. But just click around. I appreciate everybody listening in, and thanks for having me here today, John. I appreciate it highly.
Yeah, no problem. It's great having you on. We're going to have you on more often. And it's been great talking. I'll also be on his eventually stream, but Twitter Spaces. So keep an eye out for me there. This is the Third Rail, and we'll see you in about a week. Take care, guys.